It's Rob here with another Real Deal in the Field. I'm here with Julie, one of my former students, out at deal number one. So firstly, high five, Julie. Yay, deal number one. So this is, what's the suburb name?
Healesville.
Healesville in Melbourne. And Julie's doing something a little bit different to most of the other people in Melbourne. She's actually doing a land subdivision, which is quite unusual in Melbourne because everyone else goes for townhouses.
But this was my original strategy.
There you go.
Yep.
And so it's a cracking site with some really great opportunities here, and you've already started to solve some of the problems along the way. So firstly, let's talk about how you found the site. Mm-hmm. So there was some really good negotiation from your side. So tell us firstly, was advertised, what were they asking for, and then what did you finally pick it up for?
Okay, so it was advertised on realestate.com for 1.1 to 1.2. Sat on the market for 3 months. I initially put in an offer of $900,000, which the real estate agent laughed me out of his office on. 3 months later, after no offers, I then went in at $850,000.
Yeah, but before doing that, you said to them, "I will see you in 3 months."
Yes, I did.
Yeah. So you said, "I'll see you in 3 months," because you're clearly on a crack and asking way too much money for this. So originally your offer was $900,000, and you came back at $850,000. How did you haggle them down to $850,000 based on the original offer of $900,000?
Well, it was, and I was expecting to offer $850,000 and then have to go up to $900,000. But I told the agent that the $50,000 was the cost of wasting my time for 3 months, and he actually didn't ask to come back up to the $900,000. I actually didn't get to have a look at the place for 3 months because it took 3 months to educate the owner that the price point was actually at the $850,000, not the 1.1 to 1.2, which really was the end price for a developer, which he'd built in. Educating them about the restraints of the site, which impacted the ability for that profit to be made, and all the comps in the area. So eventually, after the agent and a couple of her nieces and nephews also looking at the deal, and she just needed to move on. She wanted to move on to Geelong. She wanted to buy another house, and so she needed to sell.
So you mentioned restraints. Yeah. So there was a couple of challenges with the site, and one in particular is there's an easement at the back of the property.
Correct. So it's Melbourne Water Board easement, and it comes in 9 metres inside the property. So that was what was turning a lot of people away because they believed that they couldn't get 2 sites in the rear. They were just doing the feasibility on one site.
So, and you've managed to get the 2 sites. So this is going to be a 1 into 3 and keeping the existing house, meaning that there's some intrinsic value in the current house plus 2 vacant blocks of land as well.
Correct.
So how did you, manage to get the design to fit those 2 extra blocks given that easement was there?
So it's talking to the local real estate agents really as to what sites people would be looking for. That still people are used to easements and restraints in this area when they buy as well. So he didn't see as that it was an impediment. I also thought the block would sell for less because of the easement, and the real estate agent said again, no, it'll sell for the same price.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, the house itself, so firstly, 3 months in negotiation, and then from there, 3 months waiting for them to even accept the fact that their price point was too high, then another 3 months of negotiation, and then at that point, you've actually got them to agree to the price, but it was a hoarder's house, wasn't it?
Correct. And that was what was putting a lot of people off because they literally couldn't see past that. And once we got everything out, it's a great house and a great house for a family to be in, but you just couldn't see the possibilities. There's a lot of sheds out the back and every single shed was full. There's a 4 carport garage and that was completely full as well. So it took 2 trucks full time a week to take everything away. Still didn't get everything away. But we came to an arrangement with that.
Yeah, I was going to say at the point of settlement, I guess you had prearranged the price point was they had to get all the rubbish off and they didn't get it all off and there was a whole bunch of stuff left over. So you came to a financial arrangement to adjust the price point based on that.
Correct.
So how long extra did it take you to get rid of all the extra hoarding, let's just say shit? How long did it take you to get rid of that?
It took 2 weeks after settlement to get rid of everything. And that came down to actually my sister arranging it because I ended up in hospital.
Yeah,
right out of action.
Right at the point of settlement. So couldn't do final inspection and But some really good drugs, I hear.
Very good jokes. So I couldn't make much legal decisions, but I think it was my biggest lesson. And it was actually a point that an investor raised, that if something happened to me as a sole developer, what backups did I have in place? So we'd already had that discussion previous, that if something had happened, that my sister would step up. And in fact, we did.
Sure enough, that's exactly. So if you're looking at having investors into your deals and that sort of thing, you need to think about those things. Who's going to take over? What happens if there's disputes? All sorts of things like that. But so far, no disputes. All going well. Now, the first thing that you've done, and I'm seeing this beautiful white picket fence here. Now, I saw this was being a hoarder's house. It would have had a horrible street appeal. The house itself was not looked after, I guess, originally. I know what the condition of this fence was. You and a few of the PDN crew in Melbourne all got together and did a little bit of a working bee.
Yes. Great colleagues. Stuart came up. We had the spray gun, and there's 180 metres of fencing here. So we got through quite a lot of it. What it instantly did was up the street appeal, which I wanted, because I wanted people to realise that they were building into a quality product if they were building the land at the back. But what I didn't expect was all the neighbours coming out and thanking me, and even a bottle of wine from the neighbour across the road, because she looked at an eyesore.
Thank you for the wine. We'll be drinking it this afternoon.
It is wine area.
So we are in a wine region, so it's lovely areas here. So really good lifestyle. Now, you've picked up, the
second worst house.
The second worst house in the street. Now, the worst house in the street is right there. And we are in negotiations with that right now, aren't we, to try and pick that one up as well?
Yes.
And that house, slightly different condition, but that's actually an uninhabitable house.
Uninhabitable house,
with somebody actually living in there. So I guess there's a couple of things from a negotiation point of view that need to be closed out to get that one across the line. Yeah. But if we do, that will lift up the whole street appeal, and I guess consequently lift up your price points as well.
Absolutely, yeah.
So wanting to do that. Now we're going to go out the back and actually have a look at some of the other issues and challenges that you need to solve along the way. So hold on to your hats, folks. We'll be back in one sec. So here we are at the back of the property, and we can squeeze 2 lots out of this, and we can see, I guess if I pan up, you can see there's plenty of room there, and goes a little bit further here. Current tenant has a caravan in the backyard, and that's, I guess, part of their lease arrangement with them, that you've allowed them to park that in there.
Paying extra.
Now, in this particular instance, you've done a bit of a creative rental strategy here with the tenant. What have you done, and why have you done that?
Okay, so I did want to rent the property out for obvious rental income, but in Victoria, if a tenant has a 12 months rental contract, then you can't kick them out early. So given that we don't know how long things are going to take in planning, if it took 6 months, then I wanted to be able to move in 6 months. If it takes 8, move in 8 months. So this couple actually posted on Facebook that they couldn't find anywhere to live, that they're actually building themselves and just needed somewhere. Otherwise, they were going to be living in that caravan on a very muddy site. So we just came to a private arrangement. They were all good with that. So they know that when the DA is through and I'm needing the site in order to put the property onto town order, that they have 30 days then. And then they will move their caravan onto the site, but then they'll be in summer, so they're okay with that.
No problem at all. And so the development application has actually been lodged.
Yes.
And I guess early signs are very positive.
It is, yes. I've had to do, because of the 9-metre easement, and there's a tree at the neighbours, which is in the
So it's a bit hard to see the tree, but behind this tree, there's another tree. You can just kind of see it up the top there.
Yeah, because we're in a bushfire area, and this I learned from one of the presentations that you had someone presenting on trees.
Yes.
It's a bushfire zone area, so because the large tree is within 2 metres of a fence, we can take it down. The neighbours as yet don't want to take it down, so we can lodge a change of DA if that tree does come down.
Now, noting that tree is based on the site next door, which is the hoarder site, which we're also negotiating on. So right now, it's a small problem that we might be able to solve. Yes. So fingers crossed that actually works out, but we can amend the DA and actually remove that restricted
development. So both sites here, they're 500 square metres. Within this council, if it's minimum 500, I don't need to submit full plans for a building. And the council did come back and they requested a building envelope for the rear lot that is restricted by the dimensions. Other than that, they don't see any problems of it. All the neighbours here are very supportive of the development, and everyone has said they will.
Well, very supportive because of the fact there was a hoarder's house, and it I guess by you cleaning this up, it actually lifts the value of their property. So that's really important to note, folks, that keeping our neighbours on board is actually a super important part of the process. Having neighbours, when you're a developer, having neighbours actually come over and volunteering to give you wine and that sort of thing is a good sign that you're actually managing that process really well. Now, from I guess from an access perspective, these lots are at the back, but it's actually, I guess, on a side street. So this is a corner block. Now, the side street is a little bit unusual in it is what is called an unformed road. So if we actually have a look here, now firstly, look at the beautiful tree-lined street. That's really important, but unformed road. So it is dirt, folks, with a pothole on it. Or not just one pothole, there's several of them. Now, in many instances, council will actually require you to form the road. But in this particular instance, because there's an entire
mini
housing estate over there that are all accessing that same unformed road, council have actually been in negotiation with those guys for some time to contribute towards the road. And so now in the past, how many, they were asking about 7K per property?
Yeah, 7K per property. And some of these lots, the council considers them as double lots, so they have potential to be subdivided. Therefore, they would be charged $14,000.
Yep. Now, in the past, that has been a little bit of an obstacle for most of the people, given that they didn't want to pay for the double lots. But now that you're adding 2 more lots and you can actually contribute into that, you're hoping that you might be able to subsidise that a little bit for them, make that attractive, and then we can form this road and make it nice.
Which would make all the sites more valuable.
Make all the sites more valuable. Now, there's also a couple of other projects around the corner by other developers with land releases that have set all your price points. So you're fairly comfortable with those price points?
I am, and actually what I did the FISO on was taking 10% under that market. So if we did have to negotiate lower and with the market moving slightly, I'm comfortable, and these are actually the best lots that will be on sale in the area.
Better than all the competition. So the competition, and here comes a car on that unformed road right now. So there you go, folks. So I guess your competition, they're going to be going to market just a little bit before you, and they're going to be attracting buyers to you. So you're going to put an expression of interest sign out the front saying, I've got a better property. So make sure whenever there's competition, folks, that you actually leverage that to your advantage in the process.
Yeah, because what I learned painting the fence is a lot of cars come past.
A lot of cars come past. So looking forward to seeing, I guess, the final product of this. When do you think this is actually going to finish?
I'm hoping if we can do with the land sales by March next year.
March next year, folks. So which means that we're going to be listening to Julie's full version of the real deal, probably in April or May next year. So I can't wait to see that, Julie. So firstly, high five for knocking it out of the park and doing what everyone else is not doing. And so, folks, if you want to see Julie's real deal, make sure that you come to one of our upcoming meetups. Julie's based here in Melbourne, but we run these all the way around the country, and you can live stream no matter where you are. So can't wait to see that. A quick amendment to the end of Julie's thing. Forgot to completely mention the fact that if you're doing any sort of development at all, you should always be looking for opportunities to capture revenue from the site that might be sitting there untapped. So in this particular instance, there's a whole bunch of revenue that's sitting here that most people would just overlook and actually come and bulldoze. So firstly, have a look at, this is what is called a boab tree. That is a really big, nice, beautiful tree. There's a good couple of $1,000 sitting there for somebody that actually wants to go get that out. There's garden sheds everywhere that we can actually pull a whole bunch of stuff out of. We're going to go around the corner. Come this way, folks. Trying not to trip over stuff. So again, more garden out here. There's the shade cloth there. There's, I guess, all of these palm trees that are sitting here. All this bamboo, look at all that bamboo. And then, I guess, more palm trees over here. So if you are trying to get some additional revenue out of your site, folks, don't overlook this stuff. If you go to your local landscape supplier or just put some ads on Facebook, Marketplace or Gumtree, that sort of thing, you'll be surprised at how many people come flocking to your site and they will take these things out for you. You don't need to do anything. You just need to point and say, take that away. So anyway, folks, anything else in that?
The great thing is these are all above ground, which means it's an even bigger plus. So they don't have to dig the trees out. They literally just cut them and take them away.
That's because they've been put in garden beds in doing that process. So nice and easy. Just pull the garden bed out and then everything should fall away nice and easy. Great to see it, Julie, and we can't wait to see the full real deal. See you next time, folks. Bye. Bye.